Hello, and welcome once again to the Franco Observer podcast. I am your host, Jason Rudy from Desert Visions Productions. Hello, buddies. Hello, fellow Franco fans. This is episode 9, and today's subject is Women Behind Bars. This is the 69th film that Jess Franco directed in his filmography. And there's no 69 position in this film, so not that I remember. Let's see. Let me go back to myself. Me, Sacramento, California-based filmmaker, independent, underground filmmaker. I've done about 12 films, features and shorts, and a bunch of other short films I don't count, and music videos, and written a bunch of scripts, and I'm an artist and a photographer. I've put out 2 photography books of my work, and I've done hundreds of photo shoots and all that good stuff. But yeah, check me out at Mondo Visions and Desperate Visions Productions for the film side, and Mondo Visions photography on the photography side. So, back to Jess Franco, the reason why you're here. Once again, this is episode 9. And this is the 69th film that Jess Franco did. It is a Belgium, France, and possibly Italian production. Once again, this is the film that is part of the... No, it's not. See, here's the thing. I went into it thinking this was a Dietrich film, but this is not a Dietrich film. And once after I go through the credits and the titles and all that, we'll go through the history. The last episode, episode 8, which was Barbed Wire Dolls, we went into the backstory of Franco after he had just made Barbed Wire Dolls. He tried to do a side deal where he tried to do the Italian distribution rights to 2 different companies, even though he wasn't the producer of the film, and he tried to do a side deal away from Dietrich. So in this one, the controversy was, did he do this film as a side film on Dietrich's money, or was it something he did as a side on his own dime? So we'll go over that, and I'll read different paragraphs from the Flowers of Perversion, the Delirious Cinema of Jesus Franco, Volume 2 book by Stephen Thrower, which you can find on Amazon.com. This film is, once again, in Belgium, France, and possible Italian production, 1975. The original theatrical title in the country of origin. In the French title is Prison des Femmes. The Belgium-French language title is La Flagie de la Celle 69, The Flagellan Women of Cell 69. That's interesting, too, because this is the 69th film that Jess Franco did, and they're doing the 69 number for that one, even though it's something different. The Dutch one is The Flagellated Women of Cell 69 as well, but that's Die Gerselde Verhoeven van Cell 69, Belgian-Dutch language one. Alternative titles for this, the French alternative theatrical and the French video title is Diamonds for Hell, which is cool because the plot of this is a heist for stolen diamonds, and they're hidden. They're trying to find out where these diamonds are hidden. So yeah, Diamonds for Hell. The Italian theatrical one is a female jailer in a woman's prison, Secondina in un carcere femminile. The Canadian theatrical is Punishment Cell, Service de Punition. French video is SM Prison for Women, Prison pour Femmes. Also French video, The Whip, Le Fontu. Both languages on the same cover. On screen video title reads The Whip, Le Font. Visa to Die is also a French retitling. The German's video is Women's Prison 2. And let's see what else. Frauenfagnes 2. Okay, and then on DVD it's Frauenfagnes 3. And German DVD alternate title Girls Prison 3. Women's Prison 3, Girls Prison 3. Hell Diamonds, Euroscene, the online export poster has it as that. The shooting title for this is Punition Cell. And let's see, unconfirmed titles, Le Veste Folse. And production companies, Brooks, BRUX, International Pictures, it was Brussels. Euroscene is Paris. The BOS company, Rome, named on the Euroscene press book. Elite Films, named on the Phototista. The theatrical distribution from this is Les Films de Dragon from Belgium. The Dragon Films. Timeline. This was shot circa September 75. And going back and looking at Barbed Wire Dolls, the film he shot right before this, that was shot August 18th through the 30th, and then on sets in Zurich in September, and then he shot Women Behind Bars around September, so like immediately following that last film. So yes, September circa September 1975. Let's see what else we got. The Italian, it came out in Italy in February of 77, so about a year and 5 months later it premiered in Italy in February of 77, February 3rd. Then played Naples in February 12th of 77, and then Rome it played in August 4th of 77. The unknown theatrical running time for this. There's different versions that you'll learn on this as well. The UK Go Video PAL VHS version was 78 minutes 12 seconds. The USA Blue Underground DVD, which was the one I watched, is 80 minutes 31 seconds. The director on this, of course, is Jess Franco, but he's billed as Rick Deconnick. Deconninck. Rick Deconnick. Writer Jess Franco as R. Marcegnac. Director of photography is Jess Franco. So yeah, he's the director, the writer, and the director of photography. Music, Daniel J. White. Assistant director, Nicole Goutard. Production manager, Gerald Cazell as Gerald Kessel. Unit manager is Denise Torre. Still photographer, Ramon Ardid, who that is Lena Romay's husband at the time, and he's in the last two films. Let's see, who else do we have? Director, okay. Cast in this, Lena Romay plays Shirley Fields, Perry Mendoza's lover. Roger Darton plays Milton Warren, the insurance company investigator and the English narrator. He's also, okay, so Lena Romay was in the last two films. Roger Darton, who I said was the insurance company investigator, he's the governor in the last film, Barbed Wire Dolls. Ronald Weiss, Colonel Carlos de Vries, he's the warden. He's also from Barbed Wire Dolls. Martine Steedle, who's one of my favorites. She is also from the last two films. Just from Barbed Wire Dolls in this. So anyway, so she's from the last two films, and she's in this, or she Barbed Wire Dolls in this one. Martine, she's a prisoner who's sleeping with Debris. She's sleeping with the warden. Jesus Franco plays Bill, Milton Warren's associate. Ramon Ardid plays role number one. He plays Perry Mendoza, Shirley's lover, and then role number two, he plays a guard bringing new arrivals to Debris. And that's Lena Romay's husband at the time that they were making this film, and he was in the last film as well. He's in Barbed Wire Dolls. Let's see, Dennis Torre. He's role number one. He's the second masked gangster. Role number two, he's the chief guard of the penitentiary wearing the cowboy hat. Okay, cool. So, yeah, he's actually one of the masked gangsters in the beginning. I didn't realize that. So, yeah, he has two roles. That's Liberty. This movie is shot very economical and very on the fly. So, a lot of these people have two roles if they're wearing a mask or something, or if their face is not shown. And Ramon Ardid, his character, his face is obscured a few times, so it makes sense. Let's see what else we got here. And then Nathalia Campbell is also in it. She's credited on the Italian print. Okay. And we got here. Okay, so yeah, like the versions I talked about, I watched the Blue Underground DVD of that. Film notes, I'm going to kind of skip the Amazon review on this and go over the film notes, because the subtext on this one is basically the kind of the other shifty thing that it all matters on your point of view, but in my point of view, is a little bit not the best move that he did. So basically, like I said before, he tried to do the Italian distribution rights right after filming of Barbed Wire Dolls, and then he went ahead and made this movie with a lot of the same actors from Barbed Wire Dolls, like 5 or 6 people, and about 10 miles, 13 miles, something like that, up the road, and used the same house from the mansion from the governor's mansion in Barbed Wire Dolls, and uses it in this, and then uses it in the next film, Downtown, and that was on Dietrich's thing. But anyway, I'm going to go to now the production notes from the Flowers of Perversion book and tell you about kind of the production on this. Production notes. The film, best known as Women Behind Bars, began life as a script treatment called Prison de Femmes before being renamed Punition Cell during shooting. It was filmed chiefly in Belus-sur-Mer, 13 miles up the coast from Antibes, where Barbed Wire Dolls was shot, and it shared a quintet of cast members from that film. As the title suggests, it also features a women's prison setting. It is not a significant film artistically, but if you peer behind the scenes, it's by far the most contentious of the period. The meat of the matter is an allegation made in 1992 by producer Erwin C. Dietrich that Franco had squirreled away money intended for Barbed Wire Dolls to make Women Behind Bars, which he then sold to a different company. To be clear before we go any further, the two films were not shot simultaneously. They do not share identical footage, and their basic scenarios are quite different. The allegations are not one of plagiarism. Dietrich was saying that two films were made with his money, only one of which was given to him. If this is true, then despite having recently minted a potentially lucrative multi-film deal with Dietrich, Franco was recklessly exploiting his newfound backer. Franco was recklessly exploiting his newfound backer by squeezing 2 Jess Franco paydays from one Erwin Dietrich budget. Such trickery presents problems for the sympathetic observer. Franco always denied any wrongdoing, though not always convincingly. If he was being economical with the truth, he had very good reason. Future producers might think twice if he openly admitted filming scenes on a one-for-you, one-for-me basis. On the other hand, such stories are part of the Franco mythos. Numerous collaborators have referred to his habit of secretly shooting more than one project at the same time, and these stories tickle the funny bones of his fans, including me. There's a buccaneering rogueness to his modus operandi, and Franco's personal charm meant that even when certain actors figured out what was going on, they were having too much fun working with him to object. Nevertheless, from a strictly ethical point of view, Franco was spending someone else's money to make films he could sell for his own benefits. So how do you justify the practice to himself? The author of this book asked Antonio Mayans, with whom Franco worked throughout the 1980s, as he put it this way: you pay Jess to make you a film. You give him the money, and he gives you a film. The film makes money, and that's that. So what if he shot some scenes for another film, as long as he delivers the one he promised? A producer might counter with some validity. It has to be said that when you give someone £30,000 to make a film, you want £30,000 worth of production value for your money. The way Franco worked, he would spend maybe 2/3 of the available budget of the backer's film, working fast and filming loose, and then using the remaining money to start another. He would consider the second film his property. He could then offer it to a different producer, either as a finished work or as a part-finished film, for which top-up money was needed. Sometimes, if the original investor was lucky, Franco would offer him both films, asking for more money to finish the second. But, in some cases, it seemed he shot 2 movies for one budget and sold the second one elsewhere. Even in the cutthroat world of exploitation cinema, this could have been led to serious legal trouble if word had got around. So basically, Dietrich also had talked about how he thought Franco had shot during the same time, and you could tell that there's different locations and different actors, and the stories are different, so that doesn't work on that part. There's one serious piece of evidence contradicting this amount, but before we examine it, let's consider Dietrich's claim that the same sets were used in both films. This was definitely not the case in the prison scenes. The walls, the cell doors, and the exterior corridors are completely different. The only shared location is a luxurious chateau in Nice. In Barbed Wire Dolls, it serves as the governor's private residence. In Women Behind Bars, it's Colonel Debris' reception hall. In Women Behind Bars, these shots total roughly 2.5 minutes, and they were evidently collected at the same time as the ones in Barbed Wire Dolls. The same vase of roses can be seen in both films, and the condition of the blooms is identical. Franco must have grabbed these shots for Women Behind Bars while shooting Barbed Wire Dolls, almost certainly on the same afternoon. He also picked up a scene featuring Monica's swim at the same location which ended up in his next film, Downtown. Up to his old tricks again, so he was now juggling at least 3 projects simultaneously. So Franco really did shoot Women Behind Bars with money intended for Barbed Wire Dolls. Any visible overlap between the two productions is limited to the Nice Chateau footage. As far as the shared cast, while it's true that both films star Lena Romay, Roger Darton, Ronald Weiss, Martine Steedle, and Ramon Ardid, 2 of these, Ramon and Ardid, were Franco regulars who appeared in a multitude of his films between 73 and 75. Steedle and Weiss are the 2 to watch. Residents of the city of d'Azur, they appear to have thrown themselves with gusto into Franco's plans, appearing in all of the films he made during his month-long sojourn in the region. Okay, so that was that. So, what did Franco say? In a documentary on the Blue Underground DVD of Women Behind Bars, he claimed, "Someone told Dietrich when they saw Women Behind Bars that I made the film with the trims from Barbed Wire Dolls. I have a reputation of being a magician because with the trims from Barbed Wire Dolls, it was impossible to do anything but just a very short film of 2 minutes. They got this idea because the film was made in principle in the same places. In principle with the same actors. No one comes from the same film. I didn't need to show any proof. It was very close. But anyways, Barbed Wire Dolls was made in Technoscope. Women Behind Bars was made in panoramic screen, not with the system of scope. So it's quite impossible to do the same things together if you are very rich, but not in my case." Here we see Franco adapting a straw man argument to divert from the real accusation. He could say in all honesty that he did not use trims from Barbed Wire Dolls and Women Behind Bars, but that's not what is being alleged. His protest about the impossibility of cutting footage from one film into the other because of the different aspect ratios would be a fine rebuttal if anyone were suggesting it, but they aren't. The allegations concern misuse of funds, not misuse of footage. Franco goes on to suggest that disgruntled ex-colleagues were the source of the misleading information which so upset Dietrich. "I realized that some people, I know who they were, some guys from the production who didn't like me so much, because I didn't like them so much. They decided to try to fuck me up, which they didn't do because Dietrich said all those things, but then he was asking me to make more films. The moment that Barbed Wire Dolls opened, he was happy because he made his fortune with this film." This is incorrect. Dietrich didn't make his fortune from Franco's film, but he was he was already considerably wealthy from his own films. And as we shall see, events in the last 2 months of 1975 suggest a different very explanation for Dietrich continuing to work with Franco. The most compelling evidence to suggest that Franco shot Women Behind Bars with Erwin Dietrich's money is a letter dated August 13th of 1976, which Franco wrote to Enrico Colombo at Telecolor. In it, he urges Colombo to allow Dietrich access to the negative of Women Behind Bars, aka Punition Cell, with a view to striking release prints. My dear friend, as you well know, look at our agreements with, and also, if you like, my contracts with Miss Hudson as BOS Company. The film Punition Cell and Women Behind Bars have been largely funded by Elite Films. Now they want to start work immediately on these movies in their territories, Switzerland, Germany, Austria. That is to say, the first of the films. I convinced the gentlemen at Elite Film to make copies at your place despite their bad experiences with other Italian laboratories. I beg you not to make difficulties because, as you know, they are perfectly entitled and they will only order about 20 copies, so you know how serious they are. The first thing to note here is the open admission by Franco that Women Behind Bars was funded by Elite, in contradiction of the September 1975 letter which he signed over the rights to Dietrich after completion. Dietrich must have asked Franco to persuade Technicolor to give him access to the negative. This letter sees Franco assisting to Dietrich's mission to gain legal control of Women Behind Bars, as is. I would have thought a strong indication that Franco admitted, at least in private to Dietrich, that he had used Dietrich's money to make it. Women Behind Bars was at some point bought by Eurocine with a view to releasing it in France and possibly the UK. A French-language print and an English-language print both exist, bearing Eurocine's credits, and they both came out on video in their respective countries in the early 80s. However, despite combing through years of French documentations, I've been unable to find evidence that it ever played theatrically in France under a multitude of variant titles. The only European country where Eurocine succeeded in releasing the film theatrically appears to have been Belgium, where it played as La Fleuriste de Cécile 69, under the similarity to the title given the Canadian release, Select de Punition. I suspect that this is because Dietrich managed to put a stop to Eurocine's plans sometime after they spent money on striking one or more prints, dubbing the English and French dialogue tracks. Erwin Dietrich clearly wanted Franco safely under contract as his house director, as it seemed he was willing to go to bat to extradite him from the tangle of self-made problems. None of this could be worth Dietrich's trouble, however, if word got around that Franco was acting dishonestly with his producer's funds. Future business dealings would be compromised if potential investors could point to evidence of financial impropriety. To the end of his days, Franco strenuously denied these allegations. He would often deliberately misunderstand what was being suggested, claiming it was absurd to think a man could make two films simultaneously. Anyone who suggested such a thing would know nothing about making movies. This, however, was another straw-man tactic. No one was suggesting that two full-fledged productions were being juggled simultaneously. Instead, the claim was that while shooting one film, Franco would shoot scenes for later use in a film yet to be started. In the text of this book, I have referred to the Suripus films as back-pocket productions, projects born at a fleeting impulse or the canny awareness that a setup could yield an extra take to be squirreled away for future use. As for his referral to admit anything of the sort, he must have been born in Catholic Spain, but Jess Franco would have never been seen dead in a confessional booth. Okay. Franco on screen. Franco plays a violent gangster working for a rival crime outfit, a role similar to the one he plays in Midnight Party and The Slaves. Other versions. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up here. Other versions. The version released on French video as Le Font includes 11.5 minutes of extra footage, expanding the roles of the fleeting glimpsed bandits who rob a boat in the pre-credit sequence. The new material comes in 4 sections. A discussion between 2 male gang members and Cora, their mole, at the apartment hideout. A further discussion between the 2 men at the same location where they are joined by a vivacious blonde. A scene in which the blonde visits the prison and offers sexual favors to the governor, played as per the original by Ron Weiss, and a scene between Cora and the blonde in which Cora packs her bags and leaves the hideout. Several things pique one's curiosity about these additions. Firstly, they were mostly expository, underlining the fact that Shirley double-crossed the gang who pulled off the robbery. Only the prison scene offers any exploitable imagery, namely the blonde woman stripping to her underwear. It seemed odd for a distributor to have asked for such genuinely banal material to be added. Secondly, it's intriguing that Ronald Weiss turns up in one of the additional scenes. Weiss was a theater actor working in Nice who fell in with Franco in 1975. He appeared in all the films Franco made in the south of France that year. He then turned up in Un Cage d'Or, which Eurocine boss Maurice Lesour directed with assistance from Franco. It's the Golden Cage. Weiss's name also has been attached by various sources to Eurocine productions, Elsa Fraulein SS from 1977, and Special Train for Hitler 1977. However, I have combed through both films and could see no sign of him. Given that no one who credits Weiss for these films can specify what character he's supposed to be playing, I personally don't believe he was ever in them, which means that apart from a single obscure Franco sex film, Nelly Pal ou Fosse 1976, Weiss only worked with Franco. This, plus the expository nature of additional scenes, makes me wonder whether Franco shot the new material at someone's behest to clarify the film's haphazard plotting. Technically and stylistically, the new scenes are as banal as their subject matter, so if they really were shot by Franco, he didn't put very much into them, though to be fair, the first of the additions does at least try to match the original material. One of the robbers puts on a white plastic face mask, a link to the opening robbery, in which the thieves wear similar masks. However, the mask is a different shape, so we could be sure that this wasn't filmed during the original shooting period. According to the Manacoa files, a variant edit exists which replaces the punishment cell beatings with material shot by persons unknown. Alright, so that is The Women Behind Bars, some of the information on that. Like I always give in the upcoming review, I talk about what I thought about the film and all that. It's a little slow in the beginning. There's certain things that are kind of odd about it. One thing that he had wrote in the review that I thought was kind of interesting, one thing I kind of noticed was that says, bearing in mind the film's questionable production history, it's tempting to say the recent events in the life of Jess Franco were making their way subconsciously into his movies. But while the film is more complicated than you might expect from its reputation as a quick knockoff, or remains fairly tedious despite being partially set in a women's prison, there's little of the crude sadosexual griminess which made Barbed Wire Dolls so compelling. Women Behind Bars does restage some aspects of Dolls, but by interspersing them with a convoluted plot involving crooked insurance investigators, stolen diamonds, and sundry double-crossing, which is almost like basically like he's saying subconsciously like the diamonds are the film, and he's double-crossing Dietrich by making the film, and he's trying to get the film out without being discovered. Very interesting. I never thought about that. That's totally cool. Franco adds more than enough new material to give the film its own identity. It's more than just the material itself is weak and uninvolving. What little fun there is to be had comes from Franco's bare-faced cheek in convening a prison drama in which looks suspiciously like an outdoor sports and leisure club. The geography of the prison is impossible to believe. Yeah, that's why I noticed this prison is the most cheapest total shanty, just fake prison it is. But it's cool because it gives you hope that you can build a prison out of nothing. So this prison the geography of the prison is impossible to believe. A concrete underpass stands in for the usual labyrinth of locked gates. The canteen resembles a swimming pool cafe. The governor lives in a palatial villa, apparently inside the prison grounds, while the inmates bemoan their fate while lounging next to a chain-link fences through which leafy car parks and residential apartments can be seen. These flagrant municipal settings do at least give the film a touch of the absurd, as if, like the party guests in Louis Buñuel's The Exterminating Angel, the prisoners are somehow trapped in a prison of their own imagining, rather than the real thing.
L'histoire d'un hold-up sensationnel, aux conséquences tragiques. Un film violent, actuel.
Arrêtez! Shirley, viens dans la voiture.
Quant à vous, colonel de Briès, retournez dans votre putain de prison. Bienvenue dans cette prison, mesdemoiselles.
Sortez immédiatement. Allons. Non, toi, tu restes ici. Allez, viens, toi. Bonne chance, ma vieille.
Tu vas me dire où sont cachés les diamants à leur vitesse. Sinon, je te crève. Alors, pars.
Je ne sais rien.
Moi, libre. Je vais te rafraîchir la mémoire.
Je ne sais rien.
Cellule de punition. La vie dans une prison de femmes. Les disputes entre les prisonnières entraînent la répression. La torture. Par crainte de punition sadique ou de violence, les prisonnières cèdent au désir vicieux du directeur de la prison. Alors, tu décides à cracher le morceau? Hein? Lina Romay et Ronald Weiss sont les protagonistes de cette histoire vraie, violente.
Où est Laura?
Elle est chez le directeur, c'est son jour.
Seigneur, bénissez notre repas. Une fois de plus, nous te remercions de nous avoir accordé notre pain quotidien. Amen.
Amen.
Donne-moi ce papier. Donne-le-moi tout de suite, ou tu le regretteras. Garde, emmenez-la en cellule de punition.
Roger Darton et Martine Stédil vous feront vivre l'histoire d'une cellule de punition.
Oh. C'est une odeur sensationnelle.
Je te veux.
Tu leur dis ça à toutes. Sale vicieux.
Où tu as planqué les diamants?
That was the Italian trailer for Women Behind Bars. Hello and welcome again to the Franco Observer. I am your host, Jason Rudy from Desperate Visions Productions, a Sacramento-based filmmaker of the Sacramento-based Desperate Visions Productions film company. We make low-budget exploitation drive-in style films that are shown theatrically on video and streaming services. I'm here once again with my co-host, friend and fellow actor in a few of my films, Mr. Eric Whitwell.
Hello.
For this, episode 9 of the Franco Observer, we watched Women Behind Bars, which is the American release title. This was made pretty quickly after Barbed Wire Dolls, which was the episode we did previously. Before I talk about any of the films and such, I want to say that I erroneously mistaken this for a Erwin C. Dietrich production. Upon researching, I always try to research the film before the podcast to learn about it and to see about it. And I should have known better because this is on through Blue Underground and not part of the Dietrich collection, Full Moon DVD set or of the Ascot Elite ones. So that should have flagged me to it right away. But yeah, Franco made this after he did Barbed Wire Dolls for Dietrich, but this was with money he made from Dietrich, but this is not a Dietrich production. So yeah, this was another film with Jess Franco and Lina Romay. I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis on this one from the Flowers of Perversion book. It's actually quite short, and that should kind of tell you the running theme that we're having with this one. Okay, synopsis for Women Behind Bars.
In the wake of a successful diamond heist, Shirley Field shoots dead the man responsible, her criminal fiancé, Perry Mendoza, then coolly turns herself into the police, claiming she committed the murder because Mendoza was cheating on her. While locked away in a sinister seaside prison, Field attracts the attention of sundry ne'er-do-wells, keen to discover the whereabouts of the stolen diamonds which have not been found. Does Shirley know more than she's letting on? Among those trying to crack her resolve and glean the information are the prison governor, Colonel DeBreeze, resident prison snitch Martine, a rival crime fighter called Bill, and the narrator, insurance executive Milton Warren, whose role is kept unexplained until the finale. This film has quite a few of the same actors from the last film that we watched. Lena Romay's in it again. Roger Darton is in it. He was the governor in the last one, and he's the insurance investigator in this one. Ronald Weiss, he's a prison guard in the last one, and he's the warden in this one. Martine Steedle, my favorite, she's in this again. She's a prisoner as well. Jess Franco's in it again, of course. And I want to say, let's see, I'm trying to see who played the woman. Ramon Ardid. Yeah, Ramon Ardid's the same in it. Denise Torrey's different. Nethia Chappelle. Okay. So, yeah, I was wondering if one of the guards was the same, but I'm not sure if the lady that played Isabella was in this one or not. We were trying to decide if the red-headed guard was her or if it was somebody different. But so, yeah, I don't know. He made this really fast. He shot it said, in September. It wasn't... I don't know. Actually, before I go into the details, I'm going to throw this over to Eric and ask him what did he think about the film and his feel of the film that we watched.
It started off really promising. Like, it started off, I thought, wow, this is going to be a really cool heist movie, and and twists and turns, and then it just kind of stopped. And so, yeah, I don't know. It wasn't one of my favorites for sure. But yeah, it started off really promising. Yeah,
it looks like it was shot in 75 and not distributed until 77, so that should tell you. In the opening, in the introduction, that's I always record. So to go behind the curtain, basically, we always kind of read about the film first, and then we'll watch the film, and then we'll do a review portion of the film, and then I'll go back and I'll research more, and then I'll do the opening introduction and with all these setups and go through that. So for this one, I kind of went and read behind the scenes on this, and I'll give a little more information on that in the opening of the situation with Dietrich and Franco for this. But yeah, basically in a nutshell, Franco ended up taking some of the money he made from barbed wire dolls, taking about 5 of the same cast members from that film, shooting a little side project he had about 10 miles away from the original location where everybody was. And we counted about maybe 5 or 6 locations, basically a hotel room, the same chateau with the tunnel as out front, outdoor work yard, a room where 3 women sleep, and some fake bars in front, and then maybe like 1 or 2 other, and then the warden's house or the colonel's house, whatever it was, and then one other place. And it was like really, really minimal, and it looked like they shot it, like they said, maybe over 2 weeks, maybe 6 shooting days, 7 shooting days, I would guess, probably the most. It seemed very minimal. I liked it. It was fun. Like he was saying, like the first 20 minutes were really good, I thought, and then it kind of like slows down, and the prison scenes really don't do a lot. But as a filmmaker, I was really intrigued by seeing the minimalist of where they're at, and like the outdoor stuff was just like a chain link fence that was like an apartment complex area or something it could have been, and getting in and out of the prison was so easy. It was like just a gate with a 1 key to go in and out and stuff. So it's like if you watch that as a student filmmaker or as a first-time filmmaker or a low-budget, no-budget filmmaker, there's a lot of cool ideas to be gleaned from that film to see how he went in and shot with existing locations and how you could take that and adapt it to your film as well and kind of shoot it with a bare-bones story. Visually, the film, there's a couple really good shots. I like the electrocution sequences with Lena on this one. Instead of using a spring bed, he used kind of her sitting in a chair with a tube and these two wires taped to the inside of her thighs. That's taped like a little electronic switchboard. It's very cheap looking, very economical, but it looks like it could work and it's passable. And that was another idea that I got off that I thought was a really cool, simple idea that could be used really well by low-budget filmmakers. And you could take that same effect and spend $10,000 on it, or do what they did and make it look really cheap, and it still works. So yeah, what did you think about like the stuff with Lena?
Well, it's oh man, there were some cool shots. There were some cool shots. The story I didn't quite. I mean, I understand it, but I think the sex scene between Martine and Lena. I like the way that was shot. Like he kept a motion with the camera. It wasn't still. He wasn't like focused on one area all the time. It was just a lot of movement in it. And so I like that aspect of it. The tunnel scenes are always a great shot, like with the shadows and the silhouettes. Yeah, there was some good parts to it. There were some definitely good parts to it.
I thought Lena as an actress was really good in this. She was very playful. Compared to the last film where she was kind of a victim, in this she was kind of very conniving and very evil, and she was very cold, and she knew what she was doing, and she was in charge. And even when you thought that she was being played, she was playing the person that was playing her.
Yeah.
She's very smart. She's very sexy in this. She looked really good.
Yeah.
Very playful. There's a scene where she's coming on to the prison guard or the prison warden, and she kind of like moves her tongue left and right and kind of wags her tongue at him very, very sexily, and she's just so cute, so sexy. And then Martine Steedle's in this, and it's cool looking her up. She only did about 7 films, 5 of them that were Franco over like the span of 2 years, and then like there's no other credits for her on IMDb or whatever. So I'm gonna look her up and see whatever became of her, or if she got married and left, or passed away, or just got out of the business, or what. But yeah, she's very striking in this. She's nude in it a lot, which there's no argument for me on that. You know?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and she's totally unshaved, so you see her in all of her glory on the bed. There's a couple cool shots where she's naked in bed, Lena's naked in bed, and the 2 other gals are naked in bed, including the cool gal with the sunglasses and the fucking racing jacket again. So he got the racing jacket in.
It's funny. It must have been like a really warm prison, because all the ladies sleep on top of the covers nude.
Yeah, there's a scene where Lena's. Where it's funny because also too in the last film they're all wearing blue smocks, and in this they're wearing like a dark, or like a light black or a dark blue black kind of like artist smock kind of. And there's like, I was looking at that too, going, okay, they're just wearing this smock, no underwear, no bra. The costume budget on this is really cheap because that's all they wear is these smocks. Like no other fatigues or nothing, you know, in the jail. This was the 69th film that Jess Franco shot as a director for his filmography. It was shot in 1975. It was released in 1977. It looked like it just played in Italy and Naples and then Rome. That's really about all it played, and then it played in video in UK and the United States.
Yeah, this was definitely Lena's film. This was definitely like she carried this film. Like she was definitely, this was her film.
Yeah, and Franco's in it as a different character in this one compared to her husband. He's like I guess he's a crime fighter, but I thought he was like in on the jewels as well. But Lena plays a character named Shirley Fields. Right off the bat, I was kind of laughing because it sounds like Sally Fields, and Sally Fields was really popular around that time. I don't know if they came up with that. It starts with the opening narration from the insurance salesman, or the insurance investigator, who was the sleazy governor in the last film. And right off the bat, we see him. We started laughing because it's like, oh, this guy's in it again. Okay, who else is in it? We started trying to see how many of his actors for the last film were in this. They do a heist of a diamond of a Chinese liner, which is really cool. They come in like wearing these white masks, and they pull in real fast, jump in the boat, take the box, jump in the car, and he filmed it like in one take. You could tell, and it was done really well. Really cool boats. They gone in and out and take off, and there's some nice. That whole sequence is really good. Like the first 10-15 minutes, it moves along pretty good. It's like a heist film. Really good narration. Kind of starts like a 60s kind of a crime film, you know. And then I noticed too, like I said before, there's the jail fence outside. It's like a chain link fence, so anybody could jump it. And they have like 2 guards in the whole prison, so the prison's very, very minimal. When Lena first shows up to the prison and goes outside and talks to the other girls, there's a nice dialogue scene with her and Martine. Martine is actually self-titled. Her character is Martine as well, which I thought was funny. And you learn that she works for the warden, and she's in on the deal, and she's really not what she seems. But she tries to befriend Lena in the beginning, Shirley Field's character, to try to find out where the diamonds are, if she has any information on it. But the first scene where she meets her in the courtyard and they share a cigarette and have dialogue and stuff is a nice scene. It's shot really well. It's a good dialogue scene. It's believable, and it's a nice setting. It's probably for me the highlight of the film. It's just a good scene in a standard film. Let's see, Franco. He's almost wearing the same shirt that he's wearing in Barbed Wire Dolls. I'm not sure. The print looks similar, but he's wearing on this like a blue leisure suit, like a jacket and pants in this. There's no dance scene in this. Another scene that film has that doesn't have a dancing scene.
Yeah.
But there is the shock scene. There's a scene where Maria's whipped, and it's, I don't know, to me it doesn't really make sense to have her whipped, but it's because she kind of knew something, but she didn't say, so they just had an excuse to have her naked, chained up, and the guard whipping her. Eric Falk is not in this, but the guy that plays his role, you could tell if he was in it, he would have played this main guy that wears this kind of weird cowboy hat and carries a gun. He looks kind of like a really poor man's Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
In this, and he's the one whipping her, and he's just kind of
And he's shirtless too when he's whipping her.
That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
he decided to take his shirt off when he whips her. And he doesn't really change his expression. He just kind of like the whole film. He just has this one look, and he just carries that same look through the whole thing. You know. Let's see. I thought the shock scene of Lena was really cool. It was a cheap, cool idea in this. I don't know. I mean, this is going to be a short review because this didn't really knock my socks off. Eric really wasn't impressed either. I don't think that much. But I mean, it's not garbage. It's definitely cool to watch. For Franco completists, of course, you want to get it to add to your collection, which I did as well. I mean, Lena does a good job. Martine's good in it. Everybody acts really well. There's just not a lot to it. You could tell it's kind of a bare bones idea, and there's about 20 minutes in it that could have been changed and fixed. That would have been a better film. Like if they would have pumped the middle up a little better, and maybe, I don't know, changed a few of the scenes in the middle, I think it would be a lot better film. I mean,
yeah.
What do you think, or what?
Yeah, definitely. It's just kind of once she got to prison, it just kind of stalled. You know, just a bunch of different, scenes of them naked. You know, which is awesome. Which is always awesome. I thought it was kind of funny the scene where Franco and Lena were on the bed, like, and he's trying to rough her up to get the information, and it's kind of funny, like watching, knowing that they're together.
Yeah, like I was telling Eric, like in Slaves, there's like a scene where he tries to like torture her and tries to get information out of her, and it's funny. It's almost like they're doing role playing on film, where he's like fake slapping her and kind of shaking her, and she, she's either getting off on it or giggling or whatever, and it's just cool to see those two working that together like that.
As much like bondage that has been in his film so far that I've seen, like the whipping, the women in chains, and the lust and all of that. I can't even imagine what their sex life was.
Yeah, that's a book that probably should have came out that never did.
I mean, how'd they celebrate the making of the 69th film?
Yeah, exactly. Well, in this, I was reading, it says Franco on screen. Franco plays a violent gangster working for a rival crime outfit, a role similar to the one he plays in Midnight Party and The Slaves. They remarked, which actually we didn't remark, so that's good. They remarked on the music. I noticed that there's like a version of Ode to Joy that's done in here, and then also
Dean Martin.
Yeah, Dean Martin. Everybody Loves Somebody Sometime. There's a version of that done with saxophone, but in the film book here it says, in Flowers of Perversion, it says, if only the film itself were as hectic and hilarious as Daniel White's title music, which is based around a maniac piano set to a frantic drum machine two-step, decorated with fussy trills and arpeggios. Brimming with tacky lunacy, it's like a teenage Richard Clayderman trying to impress us with his fancy piano skills after a big line of coke. It can be found on the Daniel J. White Library record, Mood Music Selections No. 1, Cocktail, under the title Noria Vivants. Also from the same LP, and heard here for the first time, is Introspection No. 1, a track that Franco would later use as the title theme for his creepy 1983 horror film Nel Sexo Tiene la Noche. Another piece for cello, electronic piano, and ARP Solina employs a melody line that's an ironic kissing cousin to Bach's Jesus, Joy of Man's Desire, which was that's how I mentioned Ode to Joy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Connections, which we had said. The voiceover musings from Cricket insurance investigator Milton Ward links this to classic Hollywood film noir, as does Romé's double-crossing femme fatale. In the introduction, I talked about other connections and other versions and that, but you already heard all that, so yeah, this one is Women Behind Bars, the 69th film Franco did. I'd say it's okay. It's not shit. I'm sure I'm going to see worse Franco films coming up, so
Exciting.
I'm not worried about that. I'm going to see a lot better Franco films too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, it's, I don't know, wasted potential, but knowing the history behind it and how they did it and what it is, I understand it for what it is. So
yeah, that's I think the story behind it is like what's really interesting.
Yeah, how just knowing as an independent filmmaker and doing things as like a side hustle or a side gig or everything behind it. I think that's watching things in perspective always changes your viewing it instead of going into it blind or expecting something when it's not. So if you know the history behind things, sometimes it's funner to learn those things and watch any movie from E.T. to Heaven's Gate to Twilight Zone the movie, or anything that has a controversy or has a history or a story behind it. It's always good to know the rumors or the curses of the films or anything like that. So
yeah, it's kind of interesting too, like how he so the guy the jewel thief, the diamond thief who she shoots, her boyfriend who she shoots, comes back up later in the film as a guard, but it's they always hide his face. Like either he was turned away or he held a gun up and the gun was like blocking his face from the camera, so you couldn't quite see him.
But he actually didn't die because when he's shot by Lena, you never see the gun Lena's holding. Remember?
That's true. That's true. Like
yeah, there's like 2 people killed in this film where you hear the gun sound, but you never see the gun in the hand or pulled up or out of shot or nothing. You just have to take the assumption that they're holding a gun and have faith in it, even though
Yeah, she was just standing there looking at him, and all of a sudden you hear a bing.
Yeah,
and
it's like the Italian stock gun sound, the kind of shot,
Yeah.
Wait, and it's funny too because glad we brought this up. There's like quite a few scenes where people are shooting inside the club, outside by a car, and maybe 2 or 3 other places where they're shooting, and it's always the same stock sound effect of the gun firing. No changes of indoor, outdoor, no pitch change. Doesn't matter the model of the gun or the make. It's always the same stock sound. So
there's also kind of interesting too, like when she was seducing the warden, and she's wearing this like flowy dress that's just open. There's like no pockets on it. There's like she's not wearing anything under it. And then like, she's like, she sticks out her tongue and starts wagging it, and like she starts kissing him. All of a sudden, she pulls this gun out, points it at his head, and where did it come from? Like he was wearing a bathrobe. Like he didn't have a gun on him.
Yeah. There's a lot of leaps of faith in this. Yeah. Also, too, we noticed Eric. There's a scene where it's right when you always think you're going to wrap up, you always say, "Oh yeah, this idea, that idea." There's a scene where Lena's walking away, and you see this giant bruise on her ass, and Eric goes, "Man, look at the bruise on her ass." And then I just figured this was filmed like right after Barbed Wire Dolls, like within maybe a week or two of that wrapping, or during the same time in a few weeks maybe, because they grabbed a few shots from the same locations. Anyway, she's walking away, and you see the big bruise on her ass. I said, "Oh, that's probably from the stunt of her rappelling down the wall, hitting her ass on the trees, branches, limbs, going down, and hitting like that and going through." Because watching the different shots she was in, that was the one that would probably have the most impact with her body.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like she fell hard. Like when she came down that rope, she came really hard through the trees.
Yeah.
Like, and that bruise was black. Like she messed her butt up.
So it's kind of cool watching that and learning those and watching these back to back like that, because it's almost like you're in on the crew or you know the story. It's like, oh yeah, she has the bruise because she got it from the film she did before where she hits the tree, and you're like, oh, yeah. And then it just all goes together. So I thought that was kind of cool, and one thing that you get out of watching. If you do watch all of his films in a row, that's kind of cool. I'm doing that with these first 3 or 4, and we're going to kind of do that. But with this project, when we have other reviewers, we jump around a little bit and such. So it's kind of fun to watch groupings of the films because you see the same lot of actors or the same producers on the same locations or motifs or locations. Like the ones we watched later on with the Dietrich ones always share the white sheepskin rug and the red bed and a few of those things. And these earlier ones don't have those yet, so so we're not in that territory yet.
Yeah.
But we will get to that when we get to Girls in the Night Traffic and Mondo Erotico and a few of those other ones. Around the World in 80 Beds. So yeah, those have the white sheepskin rug, I'm sure. So fans of the white sheepskin rug, get ready, because in about a month or two you'll be that's getting the big push. So you'll be hearing about that again, and maybe going out and looking on Amazon to see how much the white sheepskin rugs are. I might even look myself to see, maybe start bringing that back again.
Yeah,
those are always cool. So. Alrighty, well, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the Franco Observer. Thank you all for listening. We're now in 17 countries and like 67 cities, so that's pretty amazing.
That's awesome.
Got a lot of fans around the world, so keep listening, and we'll keep doing these weekly podcasts. The only place in the world that you can hear a weekly Jess Franco film podcast. So I figured I'd do it because nobody else was doing it, and it's pretty cool, and we're keeping it going, and it's fun. So thank you all for doing that. Numbers look good. A lot of downloads. Everybody's digging it. So getting people join our pages and Facebook page and Instagram page and the Red Circle page and all that. So keep it up. Franco Observer at yahoo.com. So thanks again. My name is Jason Rudy, and my co-host Eric Whitwell.
Yeah, beautiful nights.
Beautiful nights. Have a good night.